I will share with you a Dharma practice for female empowerment. It is Mana Vadni, and that is powerful divine feminine. And this is a Hawaiian tradition, a part of the Hawaiian culture. And I have been studying hula for some time, and hula has inspired this Dharma study that is for women. So this Dharma study, we're going to be incorporating hula, particularly the seated prayer dance. The seated prayer dance, it uses a lot of hand gestures, right? And we're going to be telling a story, and the story is about the nature, it's about the woman, it's about the ancestors, wisdom, knowledge of love. And we are going to again work with the sacred seated prayer dance that is a part of the Hawaiian tradition in the hula dance, and we are also going to be incorporating poetry. So we're going to kind of make our own seated prayer dance, right? And this is going to be a part of the Dharma study for female empowerment, the Manavadni, right? Manavadni. You can say that with me, Manavadni, Manavadni, right? Very, very powerful. And I'm going to dissect the process, right, of what's going to be going on for those of you who have no idea about hula dance, have no idea about what is a sacred prayer dance, who don't really know the sort of hand gestures of hula, right? Basically, the hula hand gestures is mimicking nature, basically, right? And we will listen to a song and we will kind of open up our imagination, right? Because this sort of tribal, soulful energy is very much inspired by nature. So just being in nature inside, sort of mimicking the falling of leaves and the sort of the children and the singing, and it's really telling a story of like kind of everyday life, like a householder everyday life. When it comes to the gathering of, the gathering of the food, right, from the garden, when it comes to the sprouting, right, of the bud, the rosebud, when it comes to the swaying of the tree, right, when it comes to the ocean, right, when it comes to the forest and the trees, right, when it comes to the heart, right, the fire of the heart, right, when it comes to, looking out at the light, right, or touching the earth, right, it's all sort of hand gestures mimicking the earth. And we do that naturally, where we talk with our hands, right? I'm sure a lot of us talk with our hands, right? And this is very much dancing with your hands, right? We tell stories with our hands, right? And these tribal, soulful sort of storytelling is very much about sort of just the householder's life, right? Of being a farmer, right? Or, building a house, or, losing a loved one, or having a child, right? Or, marveling at the rainbow, or, going into the ocean, right? It's very simplistic, this sort of this tradition. It's very simplistic, it's very subtle, right? The sort of joy, right? It's an expression of joy, it's an expression of being childlike and being enthusiastic and feeling very grounded, right? And this is everything a part of the femme consciousness. And that's why I chose to study hula, because I wanted my particular Dharma study of femininity brought me to hula, because hula is an ancient, it's been around, right, practice, culture that is about the cultivation of the femme consciousness or femininity, right? And it has a pretty deep sort of, right, generational expression. So we're going to we are going to dive right in to kind of see what we're going to do, right? So for Manavadni, again, Manavadni, right? Manavadni, this for female empowerment, or again, it's a Dharma study, right? So it's a practice, right, of creativity, of self-expression, of liberty, right, of healing, right, all things that have to do with the divine mother, right, the female body. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna play a song. It's an instrumental song. It's like a violin, right? It's not a sort of it's not a Hawaiian song, right? It's gonna get us where we need to go, right? Which is that sort of soulful, tribal, simple, grounded type of spirit. So we are going to need a journal and a pen, right? Because we are going to write a poem, and the poem is going to be used just like, right, the sacred prayer dance, right? The sacred prayer dance is basically your sort of, there's a kind of a poem, right, or song, right, and you're sort of creating hand gestures based on the lyrics of the song or the poem, right? And we are going to create our own poem. And as we continue on this practice, we will have different themes, right? Almost like creative writing prompts. Like we'll have different prompts and with, different focus. And we will have to use our imagination, right? Our creative mind, our thoughtfulness, our sort of, self-expression and self-reflection to come up with our own poem. And then we are going to create our own sort of hand gestures for this poem. And the poem, there's going to be a sort of specific sort of format of this poem, right? So the poem itself is going to be 3 verses, right? It's kind of like songwriting, 3 verses. And in each verse, right, you are going to have 4 words per line. And there's 4 lines in 1 verse. I'll repeat that, right? For those of you who, have never took a poetry class or never did songwriting, right? So 3 verses, 1 verse, 4 lines in 1 verse. 1 verse, 4 lines in a single verse, right? And then there's 4 words in each line, right? So that's you're gonna have to use your critical thought, right? Because we're gonna use hand gestures for sort of like each sort of word. We're gonna transition through them, right? So again, this is a practice of creativity. This is a practice of critical thought, and again, self-expression, right? It's gonna get you using your noggin, right? So before we go into the poetry, I just want us to listen to this song. This music is from Girth Stevenson. The song is called Farewell. And you can go on iTunes. It's Girth Stevenson. And we're gonna be using his music because it's gonna get us where we need to go, right? What we're trying to cultivate. So you're just going to be seated, spine is tall, heart is open, and you can follow me, right? I'll give you some sort of ideas of what a sort of seated prayer dance will look like, right? And for those of you who have like no idea, right, I'll kind of sort of open up that expression in you, right? Give you some sort of ideas, right? But it really is your Dharma study as a woman is for you to kind of open up your imagination and be creative, right? And I'll inspire you. I'll use gestures to inspire you, right? And again, we'll be using these hand gestures to create our own sort of seated prayer dance within the format that I have designed for this particular seated prayer dance. Again, 3 verses, like a song, right? In a verse, you're gonna have 4 lines and 4 words in each line. So just open your eyes, look at me, and then just kind of connect with the sort of seated prayer dance. So again, this is me opening up my imagination. So it's very, very subtle. So that was just an example. That was very much kind of what we call freestyle, right? Very freestyle, but I wanted to just kind of open up the channel, right, of the sacred seated prayer dance to kind of inspire you to open up your own imagination, right? So you could see I was sort of mimicking the tree, right, the forest, like a cup, offering the cup, right? The ocean, right? Kind of the rosebud, right? I was kind of mimicking the sort of trees, the sway, right? Or the wind, the gall of wind, strength, like an inner strength, right? kind of, the bringing in the divine, right? The laughter of children, the laughter that gives, that generously gives, right? The heart that generously gives, right? Giving this out, feeling the warmth, the love, right? Feeling comforted, right? Feeling the moon, right? The moon, opening up the moon, and then feeling the earth, right? Feeling it. Right? You can even see the mountain, right? You can see the mountain, or you can also see the sun, right? So it is all very tribal and soulful, mimicking, right? Just the land, right? It's very sort of a simple, natural experience. So what we're going to do now is we're going to listen to this song, and we're going to spend some time on writing the poem, right? And for this particular poem, we are going to focus on being grounded and what that means. So again, we're connecting with the poetic side of ourselves, right? We have the scholar, right, which is the masculine energy, but then we have the poet, which is the feminine energy, and that's what we're cultivating, right? You need both. You need science, rational mind, logic, but you also need imagination, you need music, right? You need art, right? That really opens up the flow of energy so that we can expand and evolve our science and our sort of rational mind. So just listen, and again, the format of the poem is going to be 3 verses, kind of like songwriting, 3 verses. In one verse, you're going to have 4 lines, and then you're going to have 4 words per line. So that's going to require you to use your critical thought and to, really, right? It's going to use your noggin. So we're going to create this sort of prayer dance to this song. So we're just gonna connect the poem. So we're focusing on being grounded as a woman. What does that mean, right? And it's you exploring you, right? Getting in touch with you. That's kind of what this practice is. It's about you getting in touch with you, so that you as a woman can live a more fulfilling, more spiritually, creatively fulfilling life, right? Being in touch with yourself, right? Feeling complete in this contentment. So just listen. Let it happen natural. Like, it should be easygoing. It should be natural. It should not be something that is forceful. It should just be something like very simple, very, it could be basic. It could be very subtle what comes through, right? So 4 words per line, 4 lines per verse, right? So, and I'll show you what that looks like when I finish. So, being grounded is sort of the creative writing prompt.